Hey, let's talk about all this and what's going on in Florida and welcome in Jack Brewer, retired NFL player and entrepreneur. Jack, always great to talk to you.
Great to be back with you, John.
All right, so, my phone was blowing up last night before the rally. I'm sure yours was too. Did you think he was actually going to do it last night? And if, not, what do you think held him back?
I do. I actually expected him to do it last night. I am glad that he did. I think it could have, sparked a little bit more turnout for the Democrats because you know how they get when you mention the word Trump. But, I think this is an interesting time that we're going in right now. I mean, to see so much momentum behind the Republican Party, you just hope that we can continue to sustain this and show some unity. The last thing that we need is any breakups in our party right now, because I think the American people are waking up. I know that just looking at my social media posts that I am definitely getting under the skin of so many folks on the woke left. But their extreme policies are being exposed. And I think people like President Trump in the way that he's just continuing to be front and center. I mean, think about it. He's getting so many more views now when the media would normally be suppressing him. But the Republicans and the conservatives have figured out a way to get our message through to the people of America. And I think that takes a lot of grit and a lot of fight. But we can't relax for a second with this woke media and what they're capable of on really controlling the minds of Americans.
Well, that's one of the themes we'll talk more about today, Jack. And I was interested and excited, quite frankly, to talk to you about this because you are tight with the Trump camp. You're also tight with the DeSantis camp. And you, perhaps better than anyone, can shine some light on how ridiculous this kind of false choices that some Republicans are being required to make right now, choosing Team Trump or Team DeSantis when we are still so far away from even the prospect of the, GOP primaries.
I think the message has to be you're choosing conservative values. You're choosing the America First policy agenda, and you're choosing to bring some common sense and normalcy back to America. That really doesn't matter. We can't focus too much on who the person is. We have to make sure that we're staying true to our principles. I think that's what got us in trouble in the past, is that we get too fixated on individual. Versus what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to protect our kids and our grandkids from? And how these just idiotic policies have really helped our country become unstable. And that's so unfortunate, but it's the reality. I think if we speak to Americans about the policy and not so much about the personality of the person delivering the message, I think it'll resonate with many, many more Americans.
Jack, a couple minutes left, but I want to talk about the issue of election integrity and what's happening in Florida. You sent us this article from the Washington Post. I'm going to read the headline right here. It says, quote, black voters in Florida express fear, quote, confusion as DeSantis election laws kick in. A little background here for our viewers. For years, LaVon Bracey was the director of democracy for Faith in Florida, a religious nonprofit, and he delivered mail-in ballots to the elections office for those who couldn't get to the polls and didn't trust the U.S. Postal Service to get their votes on time. This year, Governor DeSantis signed an election integrity law making that a third-degree felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. And you tweeted this in response to the article, quote, creating a racial discrimination narrative to justify the flagrant corruption in one person harvesting hundreds of ballots is asinine. Our ancestors fought and died for voting rights. Not corruption. Clearly, you're influencing the vote. You are harvesting hundreds of ballots. Tell us why you felt so strongly about this, Jack.
Because it just, you think about it, it would be no different than having people in the poll influencing who you're voting for. If you can go around and influence hundreds of people on who they're going to vote for, that is not what the democratic process is about. That is not what voting rights represent. It would be one thing if you want to rent a bus and go pick up people and provide them transportation. That's a very virtuous act. That's a charitable act. But to literally go around picking up people's ballots as if you are working for the election, or are you an official election person? It makes no sense. I mean, if you start to allow people to do that, folks will be influenced. And so I think it's about fair elections. And I think that's cheating, no question. If I can go around and influence who people are going to write on their ballot. It's one thing if it's your family member or it's your mother or father or close relative, even if you want to help an individual out randomly. But if someone is putting together a coordinated effort, organized effort to go around and collect hundreds and thousands of ballots, that must be stopped in the United States of America across the board.
All people want, black, white, Republican, Democrat, all we want is faith in our election system. It's not too much to ask, and this is certainly an interesting case in Florida, Jack, that you brought to our attention. Great to see you. Jack Brewer, take care.
Thank you, brother.